Astronauts on board the International Space Station. Sarah's already ready.
So excited
She's ready because that's going to be obviously a unique place to witness today's celestial event, so we'll talk to them about that. We're also going to explain some of the science NASA will conduct during the eclipse and why that's important to you. And if you have questions about today's cosmic alignment, use the hashtag Eclipse to send those in wherever you're watching us. We already have some questions from some kids.
Excellent.
And a celebrity. I can't wait to surprise you with who that is. All right, in addition to NASA's Eclipse event here, there are plenty more in communities across the country, so why don't we take a look at some of them now. All right, so this is the California Academy of Sciences. That's a beautiful place to witness.
Wow, looks like they have great weather today. They're only going to get a partial eclipse there, but you know, still, that is more than enough reason to get outside and enjoy some time with your friends and family.
Waco, Texas, people have their seats. They're ready to go. They're all comfortable. I see some coolers there.
Oh.
And this is the Adirondack Sky Center. They have a big field for people to view. You know, a couple of days ago, we saw the same field. It was covered in snow.
So I'm glad they have a nice place to sit.
Exactly. And Kennedy Space Center, the famous rocket garden that we have at the visitors complex there, that's also a cool place to watch a partial
eclipse, yep.
Yeah. And then lastly, the Mentor Civic Amphitheater, a nice big field again to take a look out into and enjoy today's event. I'm sure that'll fill up soon.
Yes, I'm sure. Still gathering there.
All right, very much a party atmosphere we've seen in some of those watch parties, and especially here, again, the music, the exhibits, all the things happening here. Kind of reminds me of a sporting event, you know? So because of that, I'm going to ask you, who's the GOAT today, right? Is it the moon, is it the sun, or is it the earth?
I mean, I'm a lunar scientist, so I may be a little biased, but you got to go with the moon on this one, right? It's the moon that is like coming in for the block today. It's all the action to the moon.
I love that sports reference, but I'm going to have to say Earth. Because, well, first of all, we love our home planet, right? But because we're here, the moon has something to project its shadow on, and that's why we have the celestial alignment and show we're about to see today. That's where I'm going. That's how I'm going, yeah? All right, and now we want to know which team you're on. You can cast your vote by going to @NASA Solar System on Facebook, X, or Instagram, and we'll reveal the winning team at the end of the broadcast. Earth. The moon shadow will only be over land for about an hour and 28 minutes today, moving at an average speed of about 1,900 miles an hour. Keeping track of it for us is NASA's James Traley.
Yeah, thanks so much, Megan. I'm going to have to go with option number 3 there, the sun, because it gives us the energy for us to thrive here on Earth. And speaking of energy, it is bustling here at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. I'm coming to you from our new Gateway exhibit, where we today only have a partial eclipse, but still super excited to be tracking all of today's events live with our Eclipse Explorer. This right here is a fantastic tool that was developed by our friends at NASA Goddard Science Visualization Studio. They put this tool together for us to track the eclipse down to the exact second. If you wanted to get an access to this yourself, get a feel for how this is going to look in your neck of the woods, you can go to go.nasa.gov/Eclipse Explorer, and you can track where your city is going to be, your zip code, by punching it into this little box here. It's going to snap right to your location and give you some key stats. You just saw Cleveland there, so I can bring them up here. Cleveland is expecting peak totality here to start at 3:13:45 to be precise, local time. They've got a time of totality of 3 minutes, 49 seconds, plenty of time to really sit back and bask in their moment in the fully eclipsed sun. I'm going to be tracking all of this all throughout the afternoon for you to make sure that you do not miss a second of this coverage. Even if you're outside of that path of totality like we are right here, more than 99% of the U.S. is going to be able to see at least a partial eclipse. Some places are already experiencing, you just saw that footage from Mazatlan a little while ago, they are already experiencing a partial eclipse. And as always, if you are in partial, be sure to wear proper eye protection to protect your vision so you can safely enjoy today's fantastic celestial event. Plenty of awesome stuff coming up. We're going to keep a keen eye on that weather. Cleveland's looking nice and beautiful, very clear skies. Megan, back to you.
Thank you, James. And joining us now is Dr. Bob Lehman, a heliophysicist at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So talk to us. Today's total solar eclipse, it's going to look very different from what we saw 7 years ago, right?
It is, right. The solar corona is going to look very cool today. It's going to look cooler than it did last time. And I mean cool in the sense of wow.
Not cold.
Not cold, because the solar corona is like 1,000,000 degrees. But compared to last time, it was close to the solar minimum, the minimum amount of magnetic activity on the sun. There's this 11-year or so cycle, and 2017 was closer to minimum, and 2024, April 2024 was pretty much close right to the maximum of that. So we're going to see the maximum amount of dynamism, of activity, and it's going to look, you'll see rays shooting out.
And does that increased activity mean that we have a chance for new discoveries today and increased science?
Sure. So in addition to the science that will be done because of the eclipse, just greater activity levels means that we have more chance to see what the sun is going to do, increased radiation levels, increased activity, eruptions that will affect the Earth.
So how does that affect the Earth, and how do we study those effects? What do we have, the tools, the assets to study those effects?
Sure. So we call the whole general thing space weather, so we get increased radiation or what we call coronal mass ejections, chunks of the suns that blow off and hit the Earth. And those affect things like power grids and radio communications and GPS satellites, all of which are everyday real implications for that thing that's 93 million miles away.
And how do you feel? You know, you're a heliophysicist. This is kind of like your Super Bowl.
Pretty much, yeah. You are not the first person to say that to me today.
and are we right?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, this is it. I mean, 7 years, and I like to say there's the diving, trying to reach the goal line from the Super Bowl, 15, 20 years ago, that was like, totality, not totality, and yeah, today is it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will have a whole bunch of fun here.
Yeah, again, eclipses are a unique opportunity to really study the sun and how it affects us. So I know that, again, your fellow heliophysicists and really across the disciplines of science, I know that today is really special for a lot of people.
It is, yes.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, it's time now to check in with our first team along the path of totality. Here is Tahira Allen in Kerrville, Texas, a city so lucky it gets a solar eclipse twice in a single year.
Thanks, Megan, and welcome to Kerrville, Texas. I'm Tahira Allen with NASA Communications.
And I'm Gina DiBraccio, the Deputy Director of Heliophysics at NASA Goddard.
We're live from the Kerrville Eclipse Festival, where tens of thousands are gathering to witness the second solar eclipse that has passed through this town in just 6 months. Now, this is incredibly rare, and people have traveled from all over the world to share in this spectacular moment right here at the crossroads of the eclipse. Now, Gina, we were lucky enough to be here last year for the annular solar eclipse. How does it feel to be back?
You know, the annular was such a spectacular experience, but I'm already feeling even more energy today, and
it's
I'm
like
so
double
excited
the crowd.
to be here. It is. Yeah.
No, and we have a full day of celebration in store. You know, the town really turned out for this event. This morning we heard from the mayor, and we are surrounded with food and shopping and different activities. I think I saw the Texas State Astronomy Club here giving out free telescope viewings. So it's just a really, really special moment for people to come together and enjoy this celestial event.
It's right to hear it. And you know, we had some cloud coverage today. It's looking to be pretty good.
It's going back and forth. So, you know, fingers crossed.
Regardless of how this turns out, we have live music and dancing afterwards, so it's going to be a good day.
Absolutely, and you know, I mean, this is going to be my first total solar eclipse, and so last year was incredible with the annular. Folks, if this is your first total solar eclipse, let us know in the comments wherever you're watching. We'd love to hear it. So this is also a good time to remind everyone that it is not safe to look directly at the sun without specialized eye protection for solar viewing. Now that is except during the brief phase where the moon is completely covering the sun, and that will only be for those in the path of totality. Now we have a special guest that you might recognize popping in to share some important tips to make sure you stay safe during today's events.
Hi Eclipse enthusiasts, Lance Bass here, and I want to tell you how to protect those eyes and stay safe during a solar eclipse. During these celestial events, the sun, earth, and moon are in sync, creating solar eclipses. You can look directly at the sun during a total solar eclipse, but only when it's completely covered by the moon for a brief period known as totality. This is a really special moment. At all other times, you should wear eclipse glasses so that you don't say bye-bye-bye to your vision. Seriously. And eclipse glasses are not the same as regular sunglasses. No, they're not. Safe solar viewers are thousands of times darker and will have a specific certification that you should look for right here. Don't be a space cowboy and try to look directly at the sun. If you don't have eclipse glasses, you can use an indirect viewing method, like a pinhole projector. You can make one of these with something as simple as an index card with a hole, or a colander, or even your hands. With the sun at your back, you can safely project an image of the sun through the hole onto a nearby surface, like the ground. It's gonna be me who is wearing my eclipse glasses, and so are you.
Now, you can't have an eclipse without the sun, the moon, and the earth. And as you heard from Megan and Sarah earlier, we've been hosting a friendly competition to see which one of these three teams that you're siding with today. Now, Gina, I feel like it almost goes unsaid here, but I have to ask. Okay. I don't want to assume. Which team are you repping today?
You probably were going to guess sun.
Oh,
Team Sun.
Who would have thought?
You're right.
No.
So heliophysics, it's the study of the sun and its influence on everything. And it impacts all of our planets. And today, the solar corona is stealing the spotlight of the show. So Team Sun for me.
I guess it really is the star of the show today. But you know what, Gina? I think I'm going to have to be a little bit biased too.
Okay.
So International Observe the Moon Night, which is NASA's annual celebration of all things moon, actually falls on my birthday this year.
Okay.
So I think I'm having a little bit of a lunar connection.
All right, Team
But
Moon.
for those watching, if you haven't joined the fun yet, you can vote for your Eclipse team on NASA's Solar System Facebook, X, and Instagram. We're going to be sharing those poll results throughout the show, so be sure to go vote for your team. Now, also during the broadcast, you can send us questions using hashtag Eclipse on social media. We have teams standing by online to answer, and we're going to be taking some of those questions live on today's show. Now, speaking about taking questions live, Gina, we actually had some kids send in videos before today's show.
Oh, nice.
So let's roll one of those right now.
My name is Jonathan. My question is, will NASA do any experiments during the solar eclipse? Thank you.
Oh, great question, Jonathan. Now, we have a bunch of different experiments that will take place during the eclipse today. So first, we're trying to study the solar corona. So we have NASA's WB-57 high-altitude research jet flying across the path of totality, taking pictures of that upper atmosphere of the sun, that corona, so that we can learn its composition, why it gets to be heated to extreme temperatures. But we also care about the eclipse's impact on Earth and the upper atmosphere. So we're launching 3 sounding rockets up into the atmosphere before, during, and after peak eclipse so that we can study how the atmosphere is changing as well.
So, you know, we're studying it with a plane, we're studying it with rockets.
Exactly.
Any other way?
You know, we have balloons, science balloons that are going up too, and we also have different ways that the public will be able to get involved in some of these experiments too.
Thanks, Gina, and I actually have a great follow-up question to this. This is from Lisa on Facebook, who wants to know more about the sounding rockets. So they ask, why is NASA shooting rockets into the moon's shadow during today's events?
Okay, let's talk more about the sounding rockets because they are a lot of fun. So the first sounding rocket will be 45 minutes before peak eclipse, the next one during that peak eclipse, and the final one after, 45 minutes after. And that's because we really want to understand the difference in density and temperature and these different factors in the upper atmosphere and really get a sense of how the atmosphere changes as the eclipse is coming and passes over. So we have all these rockets going up and it'll be a good day for that.
Great, and hopefully we'll get to see a replay of that later on in today's show.
That's right.
Now, folks, it is really special for us to be back here in Kerrville, Texas, covering today's total solar eclipse. Just last October, an annular solar eclipse passed right through this town. Now, for a location to be at the crossroads of these two incredible celestial events is rare. Let's take a look at how the community has been preparing in the lead up to this big day.
Kerrville is the eclipse capital of the state of Texas. It is known as being the capital of the Texas Hill Country. It's the epitome of Texas. Ranches, deer, beautiful streams like the Guadalupe here.
Kerrville is very welcoming.
It's a wonderful community.
Tight-knit small.
It has about 25,000 people.
Kerrville is blessed to be in that special square, the annular eclipse in 2023 and the total solar eclipse in 2024.
We're talking about crossroads, you know, we get it twice.
Two eclipses right here, right where I stand. It's statistically extraordinary.
We get two in less than 6 months.
Everybody's excited about it. City council, county commissioners, everybody's working diligently to be able to provide safe opportunity for the influx of people.
This will be the biggest event in the history of the city, and that's why the city is preparing. We're preparing to make the event enjoyable for everybody who wants to see this tremendous natural phenomenon.
I think that Kerrville has done an awesome job of preparing, way in advance.
It's getting that message out to people to make sure that they're taken care of personally, but then there's the science part of it, letting them know what is an eclipse.
And I'm just having a great time going out and talking to civic organizations and clubs and to talk about eclipses. So this will be my 4th and 5th solar eclipses.
I've seen total eclipse in Nebraska. I drove 1,200 miles for a little over 2 minutes, and it was well worth it.
And just couldn't believe the experience of the eclipse. I mean, it literally gives me goosebumps every time I talk about it. It's a visceral, emotional experience that is just, you have to experience it to understand.
I thought I knew what it would be like, but I gasped at the sheer wonder.
It's going to be you're going to hear that intake of air and awe.
It was the most beautiful natural thing I've ever seen. So to have an eclipse basically in my backyard is just, it's indescribable.
We're here now with Catherine Troach, a telescope operator with the Night Sky Network, who is giving us these high-definition views of the sun that you see in your screen right now, of the eclipse over Kerrville, Texas. Kat, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and let's thank the weather for cooperating finally.
Right? Oh my goodness.
Thanks, Kat. And so I'm looking at the telescope feed that we have, and we have first contact now here in Kerrville.
Yes.
Okay, so for people who want to become an amateur astronomer, what advice do you have? Where should they get started?
The easiest way to get started is to look up Night Sky Network. Night Sky Network has over 400 astronomy clubs in the United States. You would just use our search function to plug in your city and find the club that's closest to you. And if you don't have a club that's close to you, you can use our coordinator tips to start your own astronomy club.
Wow, that is awesome. And you know what? For folks, if you want some more details on the Night Sky Network and other things on how to become an amateur astronomer, you can visit go.nasa.gov/Night Sky Network. Now, a fun fact about today's broadcast that I absolutely loved learning was that so many of our telescope views that you're going to be seeing today are from amateur astronomers. And so, Kat, again, on this topic of, sky gazing, I heard that those in the path of totality might be able to witness more than just a total solar eclipse today. Could you give us a sneak peek on what we could expect?
Absolutely. So if we have clear skies in the path of totality, as it gets darker, you'll start to see 2 bright points of light. That would be Jupiter and Venus. And then as we get to totality, you'll be able to see the fainter planets, Saturn, Mercury, and Mars. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to catch Comet 12P.
Oh, what a crazy, cosmic alignment today, So, man.
Great. So for the amateur astronomers that actually want to view today's celestial event, what tips do you have for them?
So, of course, you need to have solar protection. You need to have solar-safe glasses. And you need to have solar filters for your telescopes, your binoculars, your cameras. But you can also use indirect viewing, like a pinhole projector box, or you can use a disco ball.
A disco ball?
Yes.
Wait, how does this work? Can you, walk us through this?
So as the sun hits the mirrors, and it'll cast a little reflection onto the surface here, you'll see little crescent shapes as the eclipse progresses.
That is incredible.
We need to keep that disco ball.
Oh, yeah.
Right? No, seriously. So, Gina, didn't you say you could also use your hands
That's
at one
right.
point?
You can take your fingers and weave them together to let the light project through so that you can see the projection of the eclipse on the ground.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So a lot of different ways to be able to view today's event.
There's no one wrong way to do it, unless you're
just
using
to do it.
that. Yeah, just do it. Just make sure you do it safely.
Yeah. And so, Kat, too, earlier you gave me a little reveal of your shirt. It is too perfect for today's show. Could you give our viewers a little taste?
Sure, no problem. So if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Totality going on at the moment.
Love it.
Thank you so much for being here, Kat.
Thank you again
Kat.
for having me.
Absolutely. And so now coming up soon, we're going to get our first views of the total solar eclipse as it begins in Mexico, sweeping across North America.